Hi there, Thomasina Williams of Sankofa Legacy Advisors, back for day 9 of my 10-day video series, inviting you to reimagine what might be possible if you choose to engage differently with your family. Day 1 was December 27th, my birthday. The invitation was to do simply that, to reimagine what might be possible if you choose to engage differently. Day 2, the invitation was to reflect on who might you need to become in order to engage differently. What qualities or characteristics might you want to bring forward? Day three's invitation was to reflect on where in your body do you feel discomfort as it relates to engaging with your family. Our bodies are often sending us signals. We simply tend to override them most of the time. Day four's invitation was to reflect on the different circumstances in which you feel discomfort in your body as it relates to engaging with your family. And then to reflect on what are the factual contexts in which those situations arise. And from those factual contexts, what patterns do you discern? Day 5, we moved on to talking about patterns. The first of 4 patterns that we touched on over the course of the last several days is triangles. Day 5's invitation was to reflect on where are you involved in an anxious triangle, a situation where you have perhaps inserted yourself between two other people, or you're being invited to carry messages between two people, or perhaps there's a relationship where there's some underlying unease, discomfort between you and another person. And rather focusing on the source of that, you choose to focus on a third party. Day two, or I'm sorry, day 6, which was the second of the patterns, was looking at over and under functioning, which means exactly what the name suggests. The invitation was to reflect on where are you over functioning in the sense that you've taken on responsibilities for another family member that really are not yours to bear. On the other side of the coin, where might you be under functioning in that you are not taking responsibility for something that actually is yours to bear and you're allowing others to do for you when you could do for yourself? The next day, day 7, we moved on to the third pattern, which is conflict. We tend to think of conflict as personal, but it's actually the system responding to an underlying uneasiness or tension. And the reactivity of two individuals is simply bumping up against each other. That often can look like some kind of ambiguity or lack of clarity around roles, responsibilities, boundaries, or expectations. So the invitation on day 7 was to reflect on where does it appear that you have a personal conflict with someone, but when you think about it, it's really not based upon a personal animus. It is more of a lack of clarity regarding boundaries, expectations, roles, responsibilities. Then yesterday, day 8, we looked at the final of the 4 patterns, and that is distance. Sometimes people will say, oh, I had to move across the country to get away from my family. That is a type of distance. The other type of distance is when you are physically present but have emotionally checked out. A third type of distance is when there is such closeness that one cannot function without the other. There is no space for any kind of individuality. The invitation on day 8 was to reflect on where might there be relationships in which you are engaged in one of those 3 types of distance. Today, now that we have covered all 4 of the patterns, today's invitation is to reflect on where do you show up mostly in these different patterns. Remember, patterns are about interaction. They are interactions within the context of your family system. It doesn't just happen with one person. Which pattern do you tend to contribute to more than others? Do you find yourself being embroiled more in triangles? Do you find yourself over under functioning more? Or do you find yourself involved in conflicts? Perhaps distance is the place that shows up most in your life. The invitation is to reflect on which of those four patterns. And then tomorrow, we will be talking about specific ways that you can take action, if you so choose, to engage differently. I also have a link I'll be sharing to a self assessment to help you think about how these different patterns show up in your life, which pattern shows up the most for you. And then there'll be some reference material to help you think about how you might go about engaging differently if you choose. So that's it for today. Reflect on the four patterns. Think about which one shows up most in your life. And then we'll be back tomorrow for our final day with the self assessment and some specific actions that you can take to engage differently with your family. That's it for today. Thank you.